What is this bird hieroglyph and how is it used in pharaohs' names? That's what we'll learn in this video. In earlier videos in this series, we looked at the king's throne and birth names, which are the names that you'll see the most often on surviving monuments. And you can catch those videos by going back in the series after this one. However, they're not the earliest names that we have for the pharaohs. In fact, the earliest names we have for Egyptian kings are another one that's used with this falcon that we call the Horus name. This falcon hieroglyph is used to write the name of the god that we now call Horus. And it introduces this oldest of the king's names because of the king's association with this god. He was thought of as essentially the living embodiment of Horus, who was the god of kingship. We now call this the king's Horus name because of that, and it starts with this Horus falcon. Then the name itself usually appears inside of this type of rectangle called a serach, from the Egyptian word to make known. The serach is a kind of schematic or simplified drawing of an early royal palace. Put together, this essentially means that the person who's named inside the serach lives in the palace and is the living embodiment of Horus. In other words, the king, who is the divine Horus on earth and rules from his palace. So let's look at an example. But first, if you're enjoying this series, I want to let you know that it's just a small part of my upcoming course called SCRIBAL School. And SCRIBAL School will take you from knowing nothing or very little about ancient Egyptian language to reading the most common texts that you'll see in museums or on trips to Egypt or even in your Instagram feed. So to be the first to know when the doors open and get access to exclusive bonuses, you'll want to join the VIP waitlist, which you can find at scribalschool.com. Okay, back to that example. In Ramses II's titulary, shown on the wall of the Nefertari temple at Abu Simbel, we can see three of the king's names on the left side, in the left two columns here. And these are the throne and birth names, with titles and epithets that we've seen in previous videos in this series. But before those two names is the king's Horus name in the rightmost column. It is, of course, introduced by the Horus falcon, and the name appears inside a serach, like we saw before. Inside is the king's Horus name, Ka-Nacht Meri Ma'at. Now, this is the third most common of the king's names that you'll see on surviving monuments. But the pharaoh does have yet another name that is marked with a Horus falcon. And that's what we'll learn about in the next video. I'll see you there.